locked into Money Matters Radio, 1120 AM WBNW. This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have Debt Destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled The Key Numbers to Know for 2024. Mike, for retirees, no number is more important than that Social Security cost of living adjustment. What are we seeing in terms of the bump up in Social Security payments next year?
Yeah, well, fortunately, most individuals will be receiving an increased payment on Social Security. Unfortunately, it's not going to really come close to what they saw in 2023. So in 2023, Social Security recipients saw a nice bump up of over 8.5%. Coming next year, you'll see a much more modest increase in the 3.2% range on those Social Security benefits.
Now, the other piece here is that most people collecting Social Security also have their Medicare Part B premiums taken out of those payments each month. What's happening on that front?
Yeah, that's correct. And, that was one of the real kind of strange things about 2023 is not only did we see very big cost of living adjustments, but Medicare premiums actually came down. Next year, we're reversing that trend. We're seeing Medicare premiums go from about $165 a month up to $175. And so that's going to be a further drag on those Social Security checks. The Medicare Part B one is a bit of a tricky subject, too, because those are income-based. If you're not familiar with IRMA, a good thing to familiarize yourself with, especially if you're selling a home or investment portfolio.
Our guide this month is titled The Key Numbers to Know for 2024. And it includes a discussion of these topics and more. There are two ways to request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by going to ArmstrongAdvisory.com. That phone number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
The U.S. Virgin Islands is St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way. So whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor that provides investment advisory services. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else, and do not guarantee profit. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Paul Lane and Marc Fandetti. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Paul Lane and Marc Fandetti.
Welcome to this Wednesday edition of the Financial Exchange as we head into the last couple trading days of 2023. Paul Lane, Marc Fandetti, and Ben Kitchen here with you. I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and a wonderful holidays as we get ready for the new year on Monday. Taking a look around at markets early in the show here, relatively mixed as this trading week tends to be a bit quiet as many people are out on vacation. We see volumes decline here, but we've had certainly a tremendous year, and we're going to get into that later in the show. However, we will start the show by talking about an article that, Mark, I've seen quite frequently printed during this time where basically the economy is in a fantastic place if you look at unemployment rate and inflation rate that has come down significantly. However, this misery index, it seems like on the bingo card, is every author or every writer's favorite hit to play during the last couple weeks here, getting a sense for how people feel, how Americans feel about the economy. And just to further that point, what we've seen here is that the unemployment rate, as I mentioned, is down at 3.7%, a 50-year low territory, not as low as we've gotten, but certainly significantly lower than what we're used to seeing. Inflation, of course, has come down to 3.1%. This misery index is the combination of the two. The sum totals of those two is 6.8. That is significantly lower than the peak levels that it reached in June of 2022, where it was 12.5, and largely the majority of that 12.5 was from inflation being at such a high level. As I mentioned, those have come down. Typically what you will see in lockstep with that coming down on the misery index side of things is a positive consumer sentiment, and that is done by the University of Michigan. We have not seen that. It continues to be at a lower level than where we were in April of 2020, and as all of us know out there, that was incredibly uncertain times where many people's businesses were closed, and we saw significantly higher unemployment rates than where we sit today. It can be summed up pretty succinctly, Mark, is that inflation, we talk about it looking back 12 months and how it's fared, coming down to 3%. That's a positive, but there has been significant inflation. Everything is 20 to 25% higher over the last 3 years, and that's really what's been hitting people.
Well, first of all, the misery index is meaningless. It was developed by a great economist, as the article pointed out, and I didn't know Arthur Oken invented it. He was one of the Democrat brain trust economists in the 1960s. He developed something. Anyway, he was a preeminent economist in the 60s and 70s. So if he developed it, there might be something to it, but most of us find adding together the unemployment rate, which is the ratio of people looking for work to the total labor force, and the price level change over the past 12 months. Unclear to me why you'd add those two things together, other than that they both make people unhappy. So what the hell? Let's just sum them up.
Yep.
So a pretty arbitrary combination of things, and for most of us pretty meaningless. Became popular in the 70s as a political sledgehammer, as the article points out. Carter used it against Ford. Reagan used it against
Carter.
And then when inflation subsided through the mid-'80s, we all kind of forgot about the misery index, didn't hear about it for, 35, 40 years, and it's been resurrected. So I don't know that it should, other than people don't like inflation and people remain understandably upset despite economists head-scratching over this. People are upset at the big jump in the price level, even though the rate of change has slowed. So prices aren't growing as fast as they were a year and a half ago. They're much higher than they were, as everybody listening knows, much higher than they were 3 years ago. And that sticker shock takes time for people to absorb and resign to. Thus, the discontent you're seeing, not just in consumer sentiment, but in political polls where people want to throw out incumbents, in particular the president, it looks like. So people are upset over the stickers. People are still processing the sticker shock of a big jump in the price level, which was partly due to, maybe mostly due to supply chain snarl-ups when COVID shut the world down, partly due to federal government policy, both Democrats and Republicans stimulating a lot of demand with multiple rounds of unprecedented stimulus payments. Those things didn't help the inflation situation. They helped the job situation, but not the inflation situation. So plenty of blame to go around, and plenty of psychological adjustments still to take place to the dramatically higher 20% plus on average prices that we pay every day.
One of the common refrains, Mark, that we've heard is that from retirees out there texting in the show that while we talk about inflation coming down because we look at the economic reports that come in on a monthly basis, they continue to lament what we've just talked about here, that prices are way higher than they were 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but real wage gains have kept up relatively well.
Only recently, though.
Okay.
They were flat until, and I'm coming around on this to the sort of angry commentator point of view, which is people are telling us something. They're not happy with the status quo. And economists need to listen to that, because the objective of economic policy is to, as a technical person would say, maximize welfare, make everybody as happy as possible, or correspondingly make as few people upset as possible. Not very technical, but captures the spirit of it. So real wages didn't start going up until this year. So left of center economists, and this does become political. We're in a political year. Economists are, you only get into economics because you want to solve political questions. Indeed, the field used to be called political economy. People have heard the name Adam Smith. He was a political economist. He wasn't an economist. Milton Friedman in the late 20th century was a political figure as much as anything else. He gave openly political advice and staked out political opinions. So it's inevitable that this shades into politics. The economists who are crowing about the state of the economy right now on all the major news channels, from Fox to MSNBC, they tend to be a little bit left of center. They don't mind a little bit of inflation if it means higher employment. Whereas those of us on the right fiscally, and I'll put myself in that camp for what it is worth, just for context, I'd rather kill inflation. I'm much more comfortable with inflation closer to 0 than I am closer to 3 or 5, because I don't like its redistributive effects. I think it upsets people, as evidenced by the way people feel right now. And there are other noxious effects of inflation. The left would point out that there are good effects of inflation too that should be weighed against that. That's valid. But real wages, Paul, really haven't picked up until this year. Now they are more than keeping up with inflation.
Okay.
But again, we process these things slowly.
Right.
I'm still reeling from the price of any number of things that is
Oil,
much higher, right?
Food at the grocery store, all this, tickets for concerts.
My property taxes, bills are coming out this time. I got
Right.
another 10%. I live in a modest colonial style home. Now, home price appreciation is good and bad, but it is indicative of the overall pressure on prices. It's just another reminder, getting that property tax bill, of holy moly if prices gone up. It's really gobsmacking. To me, you get hit with these repeated reminders of how much more expensive things are now than 3 years ago. And only this year, I'll say again, have real wages made up lost ground.
And to further that point, a lot of people who listen to our show are retired, and those people do not get the wage gains boost that we're talking about anyway. Social Security has gone up. I believe it was 8% and change in 22, announced in 23. For 24, it's a 3.2% bump. And if people are living off pensions, which is, not everyone, but certainly a lot of people out there who are retirees, they don't get the commensurate increases to keep up with expenses.
With
and,
fixed, sorry.
and you've had a portfolio value likely for those, let's say they supplement their Social Security income with their retirement accounts, that was beaten up tremendously in 2022 in pretty much anything that you were invested in, whether it be bonds or in stocks. Now, a lot of those have been made up with a very strong year this year, but I imagine that's probably why we get as much feedback in that direction, is because a lot of people who are living off of fixed income that's not coming with those types of gains.
And the fixed outlays, like property taxes, which is what I've got a bee in my bonnet about today because I got the bill yesterday, and of course I immediately get on the phone with the town hall, and I want to see comps.
I'm sure you were the only person to call.
Yeah, and I always say that too. I said the last thing you need is an idiot like me asking for granular data. And they of course have numbers to back up their decisions. But anyway, whether it's that or other fixed expenses, utilities that those on a fixed budget are faced with, those are going up still at 10% year over year. The COLA on Social Security is nice, and inflating asset values like your home is nice. I can't
It's all on
access
paper.
that. That's not liquid.
Right. And if you try to borrow against it, you're paying at a pretty high interest rate.
So I think, Paul, you summed up discontent in a nice nutshell, which is wages or other sources of income generally if you're retired. If they have kept up on average, it's only because of a recent jump, at least in the case of wages, not Social Security. Those COLAs are going down. So people are faced with this dilemma of rising prices and only moderate increases in sources of income.
The Christmas glow has waned off here at the Financial Exchange as we spend the first segment of the show, complaining about the economy here. We're going to take a quick break here on the Financial Exchange. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the banking sector, in particular JPMorgan, which has just continued to become a major, major power to deal with. That's right after this break here on the Financial Exchange.
This is your home for the most comprehensive coverage of the economy and the trends on Wall Street. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The U.S. Virgin Islands is St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way. So whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. Early estate planning is crucial if you want to avoid massive tax consequences and protect your assets. Cushing & Dolan are experts in estate planning and taxation, and their new free guide can help you do just that. It's called A Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. In it, you'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while reducing and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. You've worked hard to provide for your family. So if you haven't done your planning yet, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get this free guide called The Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request your copy online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our DAV medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's DAVMA.org. Early estate planning is necessary if you want to protect your assets from the nursing home, save money, and potentially eliminate your estate taxes. Call Cushing & Dolan and get their new guide called The Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request your copy online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Building a solid financial strategy is a core element to enjoying your retirement years. That's why you need advice that you can count on. At the Armstrong Advisory Group, we understand the challenges of positioning your assets to help you maintain your wealth over time. Our goal is to offer advice that is both suitable and in your best interest. When you hire one of us, you hire all of us so you can be comfortable knowing that every advisor in our firm is dedicated to helping you create a realistic plan for your later years. Visit us today at armstrongadvisory.com and sign up for a free, no-obligation planning session. Click the Get Started button at the top right corner of the homepage, and you can select the day and time that works best for you. Go to armstrongadvisory.com and let us help you secure your financial future. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Miss any of the show? You can catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon, where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. The cold weather is here, and if you haven't done it yet, now's the time to start planning your winter getaway to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Explore St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and enjoy incredible beaches, world-class dining, and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
While 2023 has been a fantastic year for the markets out there, one area of the market or one sector of business that has had a very challenging year is the financial services market, particularly those in the banking sector, which are very heavily reliant upon interest rates as determining their profitability. One exception to that financial sector is JPMorgan. It has been a tremendous year for JPMorgan. Just to take you all back, it doesn't even seem like, Mark, that this was this year, but certainly in March of this year, we had the Silicon Valley Bank collapse and all of the issues that arose with the FDIC insurance limits and a lot of banks sitting on tremendous unrealized losses as we saw interest rates soar. However, JP Morgan stepped in and purchased First Republic, another bank that went under during that period of time in the spring. And as a result of that, JP Morgan is looking at record years where they'll see a 36% annual net income boost. They saw $50 billion in deposits pour in post-March as people freaked out about where they were keeping their deposits and FDIC insurance limits out there. A lot of those depositors piled into one of the biggest banks out there. You have other peers in the space that sit on that same level, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America, that are dealing with their own issues. Bank of America sitting on $100 billion of unrealized losses from its portfolio that it had purchased long-term Treasury securities on. Wells Fargo created a bunch of fake accounts. You might remember that a couple of years ago. So they're still battling with regulators. They have all sorts of issues going on the regulatory side of things. And Citigroup has been trying to invest in its technology and processes to get it up to snuff with some of these other banks out there, leaving JP Morgan to grow to a just massive size and scale mark at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what to make about these hagiographical. Is that the right term? When you make somebody into
you're gonna have to explain that to me.
Hagiography is when you write a flattering biography, or what are you laughing about, Kitchen? You know what it means. Don't pretend like you're not literate.
We need Chuck on with his Ivy League degree to pick that one up.
We do.
Because my mid-level education's not going to come.
I don't think they taught us that word at the community college.
I'm a Catholic school educated boy myself. I don't make any pretensions to Ivy League education. Providence and Boston College. That's it. But I do know what a hagiography is. Maybe because I'm Catholic, I know what that is. It's a biography of a saint. And that's how I read this piece. Oh, look, maybe he is the greatest financial engineer isn't quite the right term.
You're speaking of Jamie Dimon, the
Jamie
CEO
Dimon.
of JPMorgan, who gets a lot of credit in several of these pieces today. Yes.
He does, and he's feted widely and has been for years, and they have stepped up and bought stumbling financial institutions, both during the financial crisis and more recently. And I don't know what to say. They're a big part of the financial services sector. I wouldn't bet on his leadership or anybody else's. Keep your portfolio diversified. It's been a rough year for some parts of the financial services sector in terms of equity prices, but as we talked about yesterday, the sector has still delivered a very respectable, among large cap members of financial services, a very respectable, roughly 12% return year to date, only in comparison to the extraordinary 25% return for the market as a whole. Does that seem lackluster? How much of it is attributable to his genius? I guess you could say a lot. Leadership seems to matter. He does seem to possess some extraordinary. He is the indispensable man. But so is Sandy Weil. Some people may remember the name Sandy Weil. He put together the monstrosity that became Citi, and has since been broken up, and now his reputation, kind of like Jack Welch's, is, shall we say, mixed. Mm-hmm. So I guess history will judge whether or not JPMorgan, under his leadership, whether its size and the scope of its activities ended up being sustainable. I say that because I'm conscious of the example of Sandy Weil, who was deified in his day practically, and Jack Welch, who today nobody remembers.
Yes, oftentimes.
Right, those aren't household names anymore. You wouldn't associate Sandy Weil with acumen in the financial services sector.
Jack Welch,
he was the Jamie Dimon of his day.
Jack Welch, because of the local presence of GE, or kind of that New England presence, maybe a little bit more notable. But
his reputation's taken a big hit because GE
is
right. So it seems sustainable and brilliant at the time, but
the history books almost can't be written until 10 or 15 years after their tenure.
That's a great way to put it.
Because
that's true. So many things too.
You just don't really know how everything's going to play out. Yes, they're strong today, just like GE was a behemoth, just like AIG was a behemoth in their space too, and things can change very quickly.
So here's a question. Here's like a philosophical question for you guys. If a leader of a company or a country or whatever, after they leave office, things go to pot. Mm-hmm. To what extent should they be? You could give an example if you want. We could punt on this to the next segment. But do you hold them accountable? I don't want to give a specific example because it's too. If I give an example of a politician, their acolytes would call in and say,
Jack Welch, I think, is an example where you have to revisit his legacy.
Or do you put some of the blame on Jeff Immelt in that case? Or do you? I don't know where I come down on this.
Weren't those accounting tactics something that were long dated and not something that were just specific to Immelt's
I think Welch's failure was more the unsustainability of the organization that he built up. Ditto with Sandy Weil.
Expanding into too many different areas.
Just an incoherent overall structure, not manageable. Maybe manageable for him, but not for a successor. Bob Iger at Disney is maybe is a more relevant contemporary example. Even he can't manage this unwieldy thing that he managed to cobble together over his tenure. And it's interesting that now the chickens are coming home to roost under his leadership. But his reputation's taken a hit because he hasn't been able to pull off yet, anyway, the miracle that some were hoping for at Disney.
If you're dividing up the pie, certainly the majority of their legacy has to be based on what they did while they were under executive leadership. Let's say 80%. Is that fair to say, that much of it? But certainly at least a quarter, 20 to 25% of it has to be how sustainable what you did is, and if you completely crash and burn, like I think of just management from ownership groups out there from sports teams. You can win a championship, but then it can all go to hell after that. We're going to take a break here, but when we come back, we'll be doing Wall Street Watch and get your estate planning questions ready for Ask Todd. Our weekly segment is right after this break.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Veterans Development Corporation is a proud partner of the DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old, joining a long line of family members who also served our country. After my service, I connected with the VA healthcare systems, where I attended meetings with disabled veterans and learned for the first time about the DAV. I was so impressed with the work they do to help millions of veterans, including providing necessary services like transportation, education, and financial opportunities. Today, I stand a proud partner of the DAV and the 2023 DAV 5K. My company, Veterans Development Corporation, is a general contracting firm working with many disabled veterans, and I hope that by sharing my story, many other disabled veterans will be able to reach their goals once they conclude their service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts and the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. If you'd like to help our great American heroes by making a donation, visit DAV5K.Boston. The U.S. Virgin Islands is St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way. So whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there have been major changes with the Massachusetts exemption amounts this year. What is the new exemption for Massachusetts? And does that mean that a married couple living in Mass with $4 million in assets could eliminate their estate taxes?
Well, that is true. But let me expand on it a little bit. There is good news. Massachusetts' estate tax exemption has been increased from $1 million per person to $2 million per person, which in essence is great news because now with planning, and remember folks, with planning, a married couple can effectively shelter $4 million from estate taxes, whereas before, with planning, you could only shelter $2 million from estate taxes. But remember, if you don't do your planning and you don't have a trust in place, you will end up wasting one of those exemptions. And so by not planning now, although the exemption went up, which is good news, by not planning, it's twice as costly for people if they don't get their trust done and their planning done. You're just making a much bigger gift to the state of Massachusetts by not doing your planning.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan has been helping families like yours for more than 30 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide. It's called A Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Tax and Increasing Asset Protection, right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. 888-485-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch, a complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, markets are in mixed territory as we start to wind down 2023. The Dow Jones is up 83 points. S&P 500 is up just a singular point. NASDAQ is down 8.3 points, and the Russell 2000 is up 7 points. NetEase shares are down 4%. The Chinese internet company is down after China's top gaming regulator promised to further modify and improve fresh rules targeting excessive gaming. Shares of NetEase had previously plunged 24% last Friday upon the introduction of the new guidelines. Coherus Biosciences stock is up 21% after the FDA approved Udencia On-Body, an on-body injection system that patients take in conjunction with chemotherapy to prevent infection. The company expects the Udencia On-Body to be commercially available beginning in the first quarter of next year. Amazon revealed plans that starting January 29th, advertisements will be incorporated into its Prime Video service. Customers also have the option to pay $2.99 to opt out. Amazon shares are just very slightly up 0.27%. And finally, we'll look at Tesla. Shares of the EV maker ticked up 2% after the company announced a revamp of its Model Y vehicle. Bloomberg News reported, citing familiar sources, Tesla expects to refresh the model from its Shanghai plant beginning in the middle of next year. I am Ben Kitchen, and that is Wall Street Watch.
This is Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you have an existing estate plan or are in the market for one, Todd Lutsky is here to answer your questions and help you plan for later life. Ask Todd is presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 35 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Visit CushingDolan.com. Now, here's Todd Lutsky.
It is time for our weekly segment of Ask Todd, where you can ask any of your estate planning questions to our attorney, Todd Lutsky, here. If you want to call into our studio line to ask any of those questions, the number is 888-205-2263. Again, 888-205-2263 for any estate planning questions that you may have heading into the end of the year here. Todd, Merry belated Christmas to you. How were your holidays? Did you get that bike that you were looking for?
Yeah, the bike.
And
the
ball.
Yeah, and the ball and the nothing, and just watch the kids open presents. But I enjoy that these days.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's all about the kids, right?
Looking forward to for the new year for sure.
Todd, a more serious question of note to you. Heading into year end, certainly heading into 2024, a lot of people looking to shore up their finances as well as their estate plan to make sure they've got all their ducks in a row for a New Year's resolution. What are some of the things that you'd recommend for clients heading into 2024 from an estate planning perspective, whether they look at protecting assets or perhaps considering reducing their estate taxes? Certainly there's been some changes here in Massachusetts. Any recommendations that you have for listeners out there heading into 24 here?
Yeah, I do. I think for all types, right, you have people who have to remember that they like to make, clients that have larger estates want, before they get to the year end to think about gifting. Even if it's just the $17,000 freebie that you're allowed to give away. So if you want, you have this ability to make gifts of up to $17,000 per year per person. Next year it's 18, so there is an increase in that threshold for 2024. So between now and next year, you can do 17 this year, and of course, in a week, you can do
straddle
18
it. Yep,
and get it done right away and move a lot of money out in the next week if you want. So that's one thing that can be done. And again, with those dollars, you probably don't need to worry about setting up a trust. You can just give that to the kids or the grandkids, but you certainly can move a lot of money that way. The other thing to think about if you're wealthy is not that it's right around the corner, but bigger gifts, right? People who want to really reduce their federal estate tax. The federal exemption has some changes that is one, the federal exemption for next year is jumping to, I believe it's $13,610,000, but it sounds like a pretty exact number. I think that's about it. And that exemption might go up one more year in 2025, but remember what to think about now is January 1, 2026, it's going to fall back down to $5,490,000 indexed for inflation. We really don't know what that number will be, but it will be indexed up from there, maybe to 6.5 million-ish, somewhere around there. So folks that have much larger estates, I'm thinking 20 million and up, you probably want to start thinking about how to get that down below 13 or 14 million, which is what it's going to be, what the exemptions combined as a married couple will be come 2026. So think about that, how to do it, setting up trust to get that out of your estate. And then changes all around Massachusetts. Can't forget the fact that Massachusetts' estate tax just changed. It increased its exemption from $1 million to $2 million, and that is effective January 1, 2023. So you don't have to scurry around and wonder when the darn bill passed and when your loved one this year might have died. It's January 1, 2023. Important to note, because there are many, I'm sure, I know we've prepared many, where we actually had to write a check for somebody who was, say, at $1.5 million or $1.8 million or $1.9 million. And now we want a refund because we don't need to do that.
The laws have changed.
There would be no need to file, no need to pay a tax, and so we want a refund. So one thing for you folks, at least here in Mass, to be thinking about is getting that refund, adjusting your estate for all of you who have passed, and they say they're going to send it, but if they don't send it on their own, the refund on their own, sometime next year I would start filing amended returns. And lastly, for Massachusetts folks, know now that we can shelter $2 million each with planning, which means if you're married, you can shelter $4 million, which means you should plan. Why? Because it's great that we can shelter more. But the reverse side of that thinking is it costs twice as much not to plan now by leaving something like that on the table. So lots to think about going into the new year.
Really critical with a lot of property values here in the greater Boston area exceeding $1 million. No question it's important to get your plan done. We're speaking here with Todd Lutsky from Cushing & Dolan. If you have any questions for Todd on estate planning, gifting, or on the trust realm of things, please call our studio office line at 888-205-2263. Again, any estate planning questions that you may have or gifting or any other questions in that realm, call us at 888-205-2263. We're going to take a break here, but when we come back, we'll have your questions with Todd right after this break.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The Financial Exchange and Veterans Development Corporation are proud partners of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our DAV medical centers and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for single veterans and for those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit davma.org. That's davma.org. Early estate planning is necessary if you want to protect your assets from the nursing home, save money, and potentially eliminate your estate taxes. Call Cushing & Dolan and get their new guide called The Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request your copy online from our website, legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. As another new year approaches, we've put together a brand new free guide that will walk you through the key numbers you'll need to know for 2024, especially from a tax standpoint. This guide outlines the marginal tax brackets for both married couples and single individuals, and it includes details about the new standard deduction, information that will be pivotal for your financial planning strategy. We also explore other areas like Medicare Part B premiums and all the ways your Social Security benefits are taxed. Call us today at 800-393-4001 and request your free guide. The year may be ending, but it's not the time to put your financial needs on hold. Call us at 800-393-4001 to get your guide or request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Veterans Development Corporation is a proud partner of the DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I served proudly in the Marine Corps from 1981 to 1984 and was honored to receive the U.S. Marine Corps Expeditionary Medal, one of the oldest decorations still issued to active duty personnel. I started Veterans Development Corporation to give back to the veteran community. Many of my employees are former veterans, and it is my distinct pleasure to work with them each and every day. This is why I'm so excited to be partnering with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts on this year's DAV 5K. If not for the DAV, many of our disabled veterans would not have access to critical services that they need to live comfortably. I hope that by telling my story, many more of our veterans will achieve their goals and dreams post-service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts and the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. If you'd like to help our great American heroes by making a donation, visit DAV5K.Boston. Early estate planning is crucial if you want to avoid massive tax consequences and protect your assets. Cushing & Dolan are experts in estate planning and taxation, and their new free guide can help you do just that. It's called A Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. In it, you'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while reducing and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. You've worked hard to provide for your family, so if you haven't done your planning yet, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get this free guide called The Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request your copy online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange has a brand new text code. Text us at 617-362-1385 and keep on top of breaking business news all day long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
We are back here in studio with Todd Lutsky from Cushing & Dolan, and we are taking all of your estate planning questions here. If you have a question for Todd, give us a call at 888-205-2263. Again, 888-205-2263 for any questions that you may have in the estate planning realm. We're going to shortly here go to our first caller. It is Chris from down the Cape. Chris, you are on with Todd Lutsky.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Did we lose Chris?
My question is, an executor of the will has been my only child, which has, in the last couple of years, has fallen out of my favor. And she remains on the will as the executor, but I'm more inclined to do anything to her children rather than herself. Am I at any risk of keeping her as executor?
So I think I need to ask you a couple of follow-up questions. So first and foremost, what is, you have a will that, is this for your mom or your dad or somebody?
No, this is my will.
So it's your will, and
my will.
And you named your sister as personal representative.
No, this is my daughter, my only child.
Okay, you named your daughter as your PR.
Yes. executor.
And
yes.
and why are you concerned that she might not be able to handle the job?
It's a personal relationship conflict that has developed since the time that I developed the will, and it is in a irrevocable trust. And I would rather see any benefit from this will go to her children versus her own needs.
Okay, so you're saying two things. Now you mentioned the word irrevocable trust a second ago, whereas I thought you only had a will. So do you also have an irrevocable trust in place?
Yes.
Oh, great. And inside the irrevocable trust, you have what? A house?
Provision.
No, do you does it own your house?
Yes, I have a house, rental income, and let's say a sizable portfolio.
Okay, so you've also got you got a home and a rental property, or is it the same property, like a 2-family or something?
No, they're two separate entities.
Okay, great.
Separate properties.
So there's a nice, that's a significant trust account, trust fund, if you will. And so I'm glad, one, that it's in the irrevocable trust. Tell me this: who's the trustee on that trust when you die?
I haven't named anyone yet.
That is the more important person to name than whoever it is on the will, your daughter on the will. The will should control or govern very little assets, if any. In fact, I'd like to have no assets involved in your probate estate. The probate estate is, in fact, assets that you die owning in your own name with no designated beneficiary. So it's very possible that you don't have, anything really for the PR to deal with. It's the trustee that is going to be who's important that you pick. And so, even if you pick an accountant, or a lawyer, if you don't have a trusted family member that you can put on there, I would pick someone like that and have language in the trust that takes care of your daughter. In other words, you might not have that great relationship with your daughter, but you want to take care of the grandchildren. So you can put language in the trust that says whoever the trustee is can make discretionary distributions, and make sure you have this language in there to make discretionary distributions out to your daughter. Don't give her the power to remove and replace the disinterested trustee, because then that would be a little too much control for her to have. And again, I say that only because of the situation you've described to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't say that. And so then this way she can benefit if there are needs or distributions that need to be made from the trust to her. Fine. If not, you can simply, when she passes, have language. It can also, by the way, come out to the grandkids while she's living. It doesn't have to wait until she dies to be able to have distributions to the grandkids. And then when she passes, it'll go directly to the grandkids at a certain age, if that's what you want to put in there. So all that can be done. You were focused, I think, on the wrong piece. I would focus on the trustee of that trust. Make sure the language is in there controlling all of that so that your daughter can't blow it, as you say she might, and ensuring that it finds its way to the next generation. Folks, that is the kind of planning that needs to be done. That's really complete planning. And what we're talking about is in this guide this month is that as well. It talks about how these trusts work, both irrevocable and revocable trusts, but it also does it in a way that describes how the estate taxes will be affected. In other words, if you want to calculate your own estate tax, this guide does that for you. It does it for federal, it does it for mass, it does it for the new mass estate tax as well. And it also, if you want, not only does it explain how it works from a revocable trust standpoint, it explains how it works from an irrevocable trust standpoint, so you can do both protecting your assets from the nursing home and taking care of estate taxes at the same time. Again, not everybody goes to a nursing home, but last we checked, everyone dies. So this guide is really for everyone. 866-848-5699, or go to our website, legalexchangeshow.com. You can download it right there. Again, it's the end of the month, folks. As far as I'm concerned, it's getting right up to the end. 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com.
Todd, thanks so much as always, for joining us with a lot of great information here heading into year-end 2024. Make sure everyone takes a look at their estate plan and takes the proper action required. And Todd, I wish you a happy new year. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Always pleasure, and I'm wishing everyone out there a happy and healthy new year.
Thank you so much.
The views expressed in this segment are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Armstrong Advisory does not provide any legal or tax advice. Please consult with your legal or tax advisor on such matters. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. This has been Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky has been presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 30 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Call 800-393-4001 or visit CushingDolan.com. Don't let an unexpected nursing home stay take away your wealth and prosperity. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, and if you're not prepared to handle the increased costs of nursing home care, your assets may be at risk. According to Genworth, the average monthly cost for a private room in New England could double by 2040, so don't delay. Call Cushing & Dolan today and request their new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. In it, you'll learn strategies that can help you protect your assets and allow you to enjoy your later years. Don't put off today what you might really need to do tomorrow. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get your free guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com.
Heading into the bottom of the hour here, markets are in relatively mixed territory as we have the Dow Jones up about 45 points at the moment. The S&P 500 is down about 2.5 points or 0.05%. The NASDAQ is off about 0.11%, and the Russell 2000 is up about 0.25% here. Taking a look at some of the other major economic indicators out there, the U.S. 10-year Treasury is down about 5 basis points, continuing its dip over the last month or two at 3.83%. Remember, it had hit a high of close to about 5% in October just a couple months ago. Taking a look at oil, oil still sits down slightly on the day, about 0.81% at $75 a barrel. And we've got gold trading up about 1% today, a little bit over almost $2,100. A breaking story here that we have: the New York Times is suing Microsoft ChatGPT maker OpenAI over copyright infringement. This is a story that will likely see numerous amounts of lawsuits as AI becomes a more prevalent technology. It's going to be sourcing information from news sources out there, and as a result, you need to make sure that you attribute that information properly. That's all the time that we have for the first hour of the show, but stick with us for the second hour where we'll go over the housing market, the economy, and much, much more. That's right after this break.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we've got a new guide available this month titled The Key Numbers to Know for 2024. Mike, when it comes to how much someone can contribute to a 401k plan or 403b plan next year, what do those contribution limits look like?
Yeah, so you're getting a slight uptick from 2023, where it was sitting at $22,500. You're now going to be up to $23,000 for those 401k contributions. And in addition, if you're over the age of 50, you're going to get an extra $7,500 that you can potentially put in there. All of that is before any sort of employer contribution or match. So you're now getting up to $30,500 in total if you're over the age of 50.
Mike, what about for folks who don't have access to an employer-based plan but instead need to contribute to an IRA or traditional IRA?
Yeah, so that's where those limits are much, much lower. So this coming year in 2024, you're looking at a $7,000 contribution limit for traditional and Roth IRAs. There are all sorts of rules around this in terms of income phase-outs, who can contribute, if you're employer-sponsored or not, if your spouse is employer-sponsored or not. So there are some tricky pieces here. There is also a completely different set of rules and limits when it comes to self-employed individuals. So definitely other things to know if you maybe own your own business and have a SEP IRA.
Our guide this month is titled The Key Numbers to Know for 2024, and it talks about some of the many changes happening when it comes to contribution limits, cost of living adjustments, and other numbers. Two ways to request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by visiting ArmstrongAdvisory.com. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the Tax Relief Line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to zero. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to zero due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network. The U.S. Virgin Islands is St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way. So whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Early estate planning is crucial if you want to avoid massive tax consequences and protect your assets. Cushing & Dolan are experts in estate planning and taxation, and their new free guide can help you do just that. It's called A Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. In it, you'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while reducing and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. You've worked hard to provide for your family, so if you haven't done your planning yet, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get this free guide called The Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request your copy online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
It happens all over Massachusetts. In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Building a solid financial strategy is a core element to enjoying your retirement years. That's why you need advice that you can count on. At the Armstrong Advisory Group, we understand the challenges of positioning your assets to help you maintain your wealth over time. Our goal is to offer advice that is both suitable and in your best interest. When you hire one of us, you hire all of us so you can be comfortable knowing that every advisor in our firm is dedicated to helping you create a realistic plan for your later years. Visit us today at armstrongadvisory.com and sign up for a free, no-obligation planning session. Click the Get Started button at the top right corner of the homepage, and you can select the day and time that works best for you. Go to armstrongadvisory.com and let us help you secure your financial future. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor that provides investment advisory services. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else, and do not guarantee profit. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Paul Lane and Marc Fandetti. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Paul Lane and Marc Fandetti.
Welcome to the second hour of the Financial Exchange. Paul Lane, Marc Fandetti, and Ben Kitchen here with you. As I mentioned at the top of the first hour, markets in relatively mixed territory. Not a whole lot going on pretty low volume days as we close out the 2023 calendar trading year here. We'll start the second hour of the show with a market recap of sorts, but also looking into a preview for 2024. And really what the big themes for this year were getting inflation under control. The term transitory was used quite frequently during inflation in its initial start. We then quickly learned that inflation was going to be here for much longer. And now we sit where over the last couple of weeks, the Fed has really changed its overall tenor regarding what they're going to do for rate hikes going forward in the future. Rate hikes are no longer on the table for the moment. It's much more of a focus on rate cuts. And certainly the messaging out there that there were going to be 3 cuts anticipated for 2024 sent the markets into an absolute spirited fervor over the last 6 to 8 weeks or so. We've seen equity markets rise dramatically. It seems as if some of the risk on tendencies of the pandemic era have reared their head as some of these other riskier assets like small caps, which tend to be more volatile, as well as Bitcoin, not to say that's a security, but these speculative markets have upticked here. And we leave ourselves in a position, Mark, where there hasn't been a tremendous amount of earnings growth this year for companies in the S&P 500. However, the multiples, the price to earnings multiple, so what the market is trading at relative to what its constituents own, has reached very significantly highly overvalued levels. That's not to say that it can't stay at these levels, but it leaves it in a more precarious position going into 2024. not to totally poo-poo the returns this year, we'll certainly take those, but it leaves it in a very difficult place going into 24.
Everybody's betting that inflation is under control. I think the jury's still out, and we could talk about why, but suffice to say, I'm skeptical, which is kind of my job. Everybody's betting that inflation's under control. The Fed will lower rates. The economy will continue to grow at a respectable pace. Those two last points, by the way, are somewhat contradictory. Why the Fed would have to lower rates if the economy is growing at about its potential and unemployment is not rising is unclear to me. Some people would make a technical argument about the natural rate of interest, which you don't actually observe, you have to estimate. They would say that's coming down if inflation expectations are coming down. That's why the Fed needs to lower rates. I don't know if I buy that. But anyway, that's one argument, just to be balanced. Stocks are priced accordingly, up 26% year to date. That typically, though not always, bodes well for the following year. Stocks are a leading economic indicator. Some measures of sentiment, the soft stuff, the surveys, what people say they feel about the economy, those are improving. So the question really is, will this idyllic scenario, which the Fed has set us up for, by the way, and they'll be in for a whole lot of justified criticism if things don't pan out perfectly. They lit a fire under markets 3 weeks ago, baffling to me. As if core inflation, by that I mean underlying inflation, when you strip out the one-offs from either fuel or energy or other one-offs that come from favorable supply chain factors. The opposite of what happened early in COVID has happened over the past year. Supply chain kinks became fully ironed out, shifting relative prices in a good way, bringing them down. What if that's not sustained? In fact, it won't be sustained. They can't continue to come down. People like me worry about that. The Fed, nevertheless, throwing caution to the wind, saying rate cuts are on the table, all systems go for the economy, sending financial markets up as measured by, say, the S&P 500, 12 or 15%, something like that, since the Fed started running its mouth about things being great and the likelihood of rate cuts. So I'm surprised at them setting themselves up for what could be viewed in retrospect as a reckless goosing of markets at a time when core inflation might be coming under control, but we don't know for sure. I mean, everything that's happened since the Fed started jawboning markets up is stimulative of economic activity. Stocks going up, sentiment improving, bond yields coming way down. You may remember 6 weeks ago, Fed officials saying, well, bond yields have gotten, this was when the 10-year was at about 5. Today it's at about 3.0. Roughly where it started the year, by the way. So a big round trip for nothing.
3.8.
3.8. What did I say? 3.8. Yeah, I'm going to say 3.80. Pardon me. Thank you. Not yet, although it's only 11 o'clock. You may remember 6 weeks ago the Fed saying, well, rates have gone up by a lot. That's doing our job for us. They're not saying the opposite now. So there is this bias on the part of Fed officials toward stoking exuberance in markets, which, again, they may come to regret. The economy's got a needle to thread in 2024. All the buoyant sentiment aside. And if things don't turn out perfectly, investors could be, in stocks and bonds, could be disappointed.
Certainly. There's a lot of factors in the air, and I'm sure there will be a lot of pieces out there regarding predictions for 2024. But I'll tell you what, no one predicted the year that we've seen this year. There was wide consensus that we were going to go into some sort of recession. That has not occurred. We can say that very certainly.
It's just incredible that people forget the old rule that when everybody thinks something's going to happen, Byron Wien, I believe, the famous stock strategist, said this, when everybody thinks something's going to happen, something else happens.
Yep.
So last year, everybody thought, sensibly, by the way, that was the prudent thing to forecast. Mm-hmm. It wasn't prudent to, at the end of last year, say, economy's going to go like gangbusters next year. Inflation's going to come down all by itself. Those were not, in light of the weight of history, prudent forecasts to make. So while I may feel a little foolish for thinking, well, inflation's going to take some economic pain to get under control, that's with the exception of, say, the early 1950s, which were similar in some ways to what happened this year. That's always been what's happened. Of course, that was the responsible prediction to make. As someone who helps to manage people's money, you wouldn't want your doctor to say, well, you could lose weight. You don't actually have to change anything. You're just going to spontaneously shrink.
Ozempic?
Maybe that, well, before Ozempic, yeah, right. But before Ozempic, you would have dismissed that doctor as a quack.
Right.
Spontaneous weight loss, spontaneous remission of a disease is a better example because it actually happens. But that's not your baseline. So what happened this year was a little bit of an economic miracle. Some people would scoff at that and say, no, the supply chain kinks getting worked out were perfectly foreseeable, but the degree to which they brought inflation down was not. That required cooperation of other special factors moving in the right direction. So it was a miracle year in some sense, unlikely to be repeated next year because of the rarity of such things by definition, yet everybody's upping their forecasts after the extraordinary results of this year. Stock return forecasts are going up, not down. Reminiscent of the late 90s when the higher the past return, the higher the expected future return, which is the opposite, frankly, from how it should work. But I guess that's our nature.
A Christmas miracle, 2023.
Yeah, all year long.
All year long. We're going to pivot here quickly, touch a little bit upon electric vehicle demand. It's losing steam in the U.S. Holiday season is typically a time where a lot of new car deals are being offered. What we've seen here is the U.S. in Q3 had only about 8% of its vehicles be purchased as electric vehicles. That was a good pace, but still significantly off of what we saw in previous years in terms of sales increase. China, by comparison, has about 27% of its vehicles being sold as electric vehicles. Price is certainly an issue where J.D. Power states that the average cost for a electric vehicle is close to about $52,000, where you've got the gas combustion engine coming in around $44,000. Price differential is part of it, and also just the infrastructure continues to be far behind China and Europe in terms of what they've set up.
I was thinking about this last week, the week before last, when so many people lost power.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What did you do? Can I give the text line out? Do I even need to ask permission? 617-362-1385, 617-362-1385. And thanks to Red Hot, by the way, for your supportive texts, sometimes excessively critical, but usually supportive. And thanks to everybody who uses that line. What did you do last week if you had an electric car? If you're on the fence to buy an electric car, this must have pushed you to the no way side of the fence if you were without power for a few days.
You'd almost have to have a generator in order to have an electric vehicle.
You need a battery. You need a power wall, right? Or natural gas powered or propane powered.
Right.
Which most people don't have. Those things are they're really neat, but they're still pretty rare. But if you didn't have a power wall or backup, like you said, you ain't charging your electric vehicle. What do you do?
It's a great question. And to that point, dealerships are mentioning that it takes 3 weeks longer to sell an EV. And it's because of questions like that, Mark, because the infrastructure isn't entirely there. There are some kinks to be worked out. You certainly, for the most part, have to be a residential homeowner. Now, there are apartment buildings out there that have charging stations, office buildings as well. But let's say you're living in South Boston and Southie, there isn't, EV chargers running rampant there in the city, in these metropolitan areas. In order to have an electric vehicle, it needs to have a docking station at night in order to be charged up for you to feel comfortable to drive it on a daily basis.
What if you were in Norwell or Hingham or someplace last week? The whole town was out, or 50, 75% of it.
Yeah, can you imagine you're running on low and you're cruising around and all of a sudden power is
precisely when you need it most.
Yep.
You can't charge your EV. And assume for a second, I know a lot of you are skeptical, but climate change is happening. Whether or not you attribute it to human activity is beside the point. These storms are going to get more, not less, if indeed that is the case, and I'm going to go with that assumption because the evidence is now pretty strong. These storms are going to get worse, not better.
Yeah.
Like everybody's going to need a power wall to power their stupid, forgive me, but I'm stupid as an ill thought out, the scheme to jam one down everybody's throat, their stupid electric vehicle. I love them. I think they're neat as all out, but
so what you're saying is Tesla should give away like a Huffy or a Schwinn with every purchase
no, they
of
should
a
give
Model
away
Y?
They should give away a power wall, wise guy. Solar panels and a power wall. And then you're guaranteed to...
Solar
it could
panels,
take a while.
That would be a nice coupling.
Can I get a Clydesdale with my Model Y?
We're going to take a break here on the Financial Exchange. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about the housing market. That's right after this break.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Veterans Development Corporation is a proud partner of the DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I served proudly in the Marine Corps from 1981 to 1984 and was honored to receive the U.S. Marine Corps Expeditionary Medal, one of the oldest decorations still issued to active duty personnel. I started Veterans Development Corporation to give back to the veteran community. Many of my employees are former veterans, and it is my distinct pleasure to work with them each and every day. This is why I'm so excited to be partnering with the Disabled American Veterans veterans, Department of Massachusetts, on this year's DAV 5K. If not for the DAV, many of our disabled veterans would not have access to critical services that they need to live comfortably. I hope that by telling my story, many more of our veterans will achieve their goals and dreams post-service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts and the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. If you'd like to help our great American heroes by making a donation, visit dav5k.boston.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. As another new year approaches, we've put together a brand new free guide that will walk you through the key numbers you'll need to know for 2024, especially from a tax standpoint. This guide outlines the marginal tax brackets for both married couples and single individuals, and it includes details about the new standard deduction, information that will be pivotal for your financial planning strategy. We also explore other areas like Medicare Part B premiums and all the ways your Social Security benefits are taxed. Call us today at 800-393-4001 and request your free guide. The year may be ending, but it's not the time to put your financial needs on hold. Call us at 800-393-4001 to get your guide or request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there are some high net worth clients that would like to reduce the size of their estate, but they don't want to give up access to their assets. Is there anything they can do?
There actually is. Now, we talk about, doing estate tax planning, which I tell you should always do. So even higher net worth clients should put together their basic estate planning. I call that the foundation of their estate plan, of anyone's estate plan. And for higher net worths, we to be using, revocable trust. There may be one or there may be two, but you want to put those together first. And that helps us shelter what we can. But to leverage your estate tax exemption that is going to be going down in 2026 to about, $6.5 million indexed for inflation, how do we use it? We can gift it. And if you gift it away, think about what you want to gift, but you can put it into another trust called a gifting trust, a spousal lifetime access trust that allows the spouses each other to enjoy what's in the other one's trust, but you've effectively given away the asset. So all that you've given away plus all the growth will be estate tax free moving forward, and it can even skip a generation from there. So planning is critically important.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan has been helping families like yours for more than 30 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide. It's called A Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Tax and Increasing Asset Protection, right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can simply request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is now available on your Alexa smart speaker. Ask to play the Financial Exchange and catch up on anything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia is brought to you by Applebee's. Choose from a variety of half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m., including half-price boneless buffalo wings, half-price spinach and artichoke dip, and half-price warm pretzels dipped in beer cheese. Gather with friends any day of the week at Applebee's and say hello to half-price appetizers served late night. Because half off is just more fun now that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited. Dine in only. So it was reported late last week that Mayim Bialik will not be returning as a host of Jeopardy! Bialik had been sharing hosting duties with the current host, who is also the winningest player in Jeopardy! History. So today's question is, who is now the sole host of Jeopardy! Who is now the sole host of Jeopardy! Be the third person to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you'll win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. You will also be registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's. Be sure to include the keyword Applebee's in your text. We'll give away the Applebee's gift card on Friday's show. That's 617-362-1385, and the third correct response will be our winner. See the complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
The housing market has been an area, particularly around the greater Boston area, that has just been extremely difficult to find any type of resolution to get this market under control. A simple solution is more supply, but that is easier said than done. The reason being for that is a lot of these zoning requirements, which are just very difficult to deal with. And now what you're seeing is finally some metropolitan areas are changing their zoning law to allow more units to be built. For example, Newton, which is right nearby our headquarters here, is trying to enact a change from a 2021 law. Their deadline is December 31st, so just in a couple days here, to allow for 8,330 more housing units to become available through zoning. Newton has seen a 76% jump in the median home value in the town from 2013. It now sits at $1.28 million. It has 89,000 residents and only 33,000 housing units. So certainly something that needs to be dealt with, along with other areas of the country allowing for more units to be built on lots and markets. Unfortunately, something that is incredibly slow to add supply to the market, but it's necessary if you want to get the housing market under control. You got to increase supply.
Yeah, or get rid of people. I don't know how else you do it. I mean, there are two sides to the equation. Nobody wants a big multifamily monstrosity next door to them.
No.
But I guess some people next to, say, public transportation by law should be expecting that by now because the legislature has decreed that it has decided that it be so. So forewarned is forearmed, I guess. If you don't like living next to what is likely to be an increasingly multifamily dominated segment of your local market, then get away from public transportation. And people who don't want to live next to a bunch of, nothing wrong with renters, but some people might not prefer might like more stability in their neighborhood. Stay away from areas near public transportation, I guess. But we need it, to your point.
We really do.
I guess. So prices are telling us.
And to that point, there's a piece in the Wall Street Journal that is titled The Rise of Forever Renters, where basically they go over this idea that because you have home prices that are so prohibitive, you're just seeing a significant increase in renters across the country, where that is where you're seeing a lot of the growth on the supply side of things. If you look at Austin, Charlotte, some of these areas, there is a significant amount of multifamilies being built, a lot less in the way of new home construction. To be clear, that has upticked. We're seeing residential construction increase, but it seems like much more of it is on the multifamily side of things. In those areas, we're seeing significant supply increase.
Yeah, that's the solution, I guess. If capital markets cooperate, these guys need funding. It's a little harder to get now than it was. It's more expensive, and lenders are being more selective. That's not pointed at in this article, though, as a constraint. So apparently they're still getting funding from the local banks that we talked about in the first hour, which are becoming more discriminating in terms of the credit worthiness they require to lend money. And to your point, this is a slow solution. It's not going to fix the problem of rapidly rising home prices. For many people, that's not a problem.
Yeah, you wonder if the interest rates were to, decrease back down to 5-6%, that territory. I mean, 6% is relatively achievable, but if you see 4 or 5%, if that allows for more buyers to enter the market, it seems like there has been a lot of growth from renters who are married, have a college education, who would fit the profile of the first-time home buyer. But the other thing that I talked about with my father-in-law over the holidays is that, particularly around here, if there's going to be a developer purchasing a single-family home, they're just going to build a monstrosity on top of it to net that project margin. They're not going to go and build the 2,000 square foot house in Needham, for example. They'll build a 4,000 square foot house and list it for $2.5 million or $3 million just to net more, because they're going to have to pay a significant amount for the land. So it's something interesting we like to follow here on the show, the housing market. But zoning requirements are one of the things that can help to address the problem, but ultimately it's a very slow grind in order to get that inventory back to levels where you might actually get a discount, or you might actually see home prices decrease. I don't think we're anywhere near those levels.
My God, imagine if we were actually experiencing significant population growth. People lament the outflow from the north, and this phenomenon is true of the Northeast generally, from Rhode Island to New Hampshire and Maine and just about everywhere but the outer limits of what's livable and commutable. Imagine if we were experiencing actual inflows. I mean, prices are a signal. They tell you something.
Yep.
Prices going up means the property's I'm telling you what you already know, means it's desirable. People want to live here. It's hard to reconcile that with all these reports of people fleeing to less expensive southern locales. Then why do our prices continue to go up 15% a year?
Very good point. We're going to take a break here on the Financial Exchange. When we come
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have Debt Destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
The U.S. Virgin Islands is St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way. So whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Financial planning is a year-round job, and with 2023 coming to an end, it's the perfect time to take a hard look at your strategy and what changes you may want to make going forward. Hi, this is Chuck Zada from the Armstrong Advisory Group. We've written a brand new guide that'll help you understand some key numbers that may affect your planning next year, like marginal tax brackets and retirement account income limits. If you're retired or getting ready to retire, there's also information about how the government taxes your Social Security benefits. Get your copy of this new guide called Key Numbers to Know for 2024 right now by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001. You can also request the guide at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there are some high net worth clients that would like to reduce the size of their estate, but they don't want to give up access to their assets. Is there anything they can do?
There actually is. Now, we talk about, doing estate tax planning, which I tell you should always do. So even higher net worth clients should put together their basic estate planning. I call that the foundation of their estate plan, of anyone's estate plan. And for higher net worths, to be using, revocable trust. There may be one or there may be two, but you want to put those together first. And that helps us shelter what we can. But to leverage your estate tax exemption that is going to be going down in 2026 to about, 6.5 million indexed for inflation, how do we use it? We can gift it. And if you gift it away, think about what you want to gift, but you can put it into another trust called a gifting trust, a spousal lifetime access trust that allows the spouses each other to enjoy what's in the other one's trust, but you've effectively given away the asset. So all that you've given away, plus all the growth, will be estate tax free moving forward, and it can even skip a generation from there. So planning is critically important.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan has been helping families like yours for more than 30 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide. It's called A Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Tax and Increasing Asset Protection, right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can simply request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. For your chance to win our daily trivia contest, text us at 617-362-1385. Complete rules are available at financialexchangeshow.com. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, let's pay off a little trivia today. The question was, who is now the sole host of Jeopardy? That'd be Ken Jennings. Ken Jennings is the winningest player in Jeopardy history, and he also had a 74 consecutive win streak. He also earned over $4.5 million across his appearances on Jeopardy. Jennings became one of the hosts of the Longtime Trivia Show after the passing of Alex Trebek. Today's winner is David in Nashua. He has won a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt and is also registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's. We'll be giving away the gift card on Friday's show. Trivia is brought to you by Applebee's. Choose from a variety of half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m. Because half off is just more fun. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited. Dine in only.
We have another crisis that is striking the United States out here. Parents are risking their retirements to support their adult children. This is something, Mark, that I do run into from time to time working with clients in the financial planning realm. You'll see that there is the child out there that is still in their late 20s but heavily reliant on their parents to help them out. And in some situations, to the point of this article here in Bloomberg, there isn't enough to go around in order to sustain their own retirements by helping their adult children. If taking a look at the percentage of young adults living with their parents is roughly on par with what it was in the 1940s, but that's a very dramatically different time period than where we sit today. We're seeing nearly half of young adults in the U.S. living at home, and millions more are receiving help with rent, bills, and everyday cost out there. It's something that I do know a lot of people who hung on their parents' phone bill for quite a long time. I think that there is some sister-in-law that I have out there that is still on her parents' phone bill.
I know people in their 40s and 50s that are still on their parents' It was just more economical.
Yep.
No additional cost, I guess. And
it's strange because
lingered.
It is a very strong labor market. We talk about this all the time where, we sit at 3.7% unemployment. For most people, depending on the field that you're going into, there are jobs available. Now, I would allow the counter argument that housing from an affordability standpoint is certainly at its levels that we haven't seen in quite some time. But the idea that they would need to help out with bills, to me, the only thing that could point to really is the cost of student loan debt out there that people are saddled with.
I guess. And, parents are making a deal. If I'm taking care of you, you take care of me someday.
Right.
So if it's to your financial detriment now as a parent, it could redound to your financial benefit in 25 years, providing they keep up. There's no way to enforce it, I guess, other than guilt. But providing the kids keep up their end of the deal, they have some sort of obligation. They would anyway. We do anyway. But it strengthens that obligation, I guess you could say. So, yeah, it's a financial drag now, but it could be to your benefit monetarily and in other ways in 25 years, right? You don't want to alienate your potential caretakers.
You definitely don't.
I hate to be so crude and crass and economic about it, but it is an economic bargain.
U.S. parents spend about $500 billion every year on their 18 to 34-year-old children, which is double what they put to retirement, according to a study done by Merrill Lynch. The kids come first, which I don't blame them, having two kids of my own.
The U.S. Virgin Islands is St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way, so whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you, so head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Apple Watches are not being sold currently throughout the United States, as there's been a ban that the White House refused to overturn. This is in regards to a patent dispute where Massimo Corp has contended that Apple had infringed on a couple of patents that it had on its Apple Watch. I believe it was specific to some of the health tracking features of the Apple Watch. And so as a result, in October, the ITC had ruled that Apple did violate two of Massimo Health technology patents, and as of, I believe, the 24th or so of last week, Apple was no longer able to sell Apple Watches, specific types of its Apple Watches, through its retail channels as well as online. They are now appealing that decision, and there's supposed to be a result of that decision, I believe, on January 10th. It's a $17 billion a year business, their Apple Watch sales. But for right now, you are unable to get Apple Watches. Do either of you, I'm looking across at you, no one here has an Apple Watch.
I do have one. I'm not
Okay.
wearing it, no.
Got it.
I've actually had one since the very beginning of when they released them.
We've got Lois out there who has an Apple Watch. She was waving hers proudly. To me, the
Are we sure she's not having a health crisis?
She looks like she's still breathing out there through the glass, but we'll keep listeners posted out there. To me, the best I've heard about the Apple Watches is you can get your texts through there, phone calls too. I've heard parents with younger children use that for a communication device, but it's not as robust as the iPhone to keep them off of apps and things like that. But I personally do not have one here. So
the alleged behavior of Apple here, as it's reported, so again, I say alleged, is pretty sleazy. And Apple's done some, like they stole their interface from Xerox.
Oh, king of
Or
sleaze.
was it Gates or Jobs who stole the interface from the look and feel that we associate with a Windows or Apple's desktop? Xerox, I think, pioneered that software, the idea that you move files around on a desktop that we take for granted today. It was either Jobs or Gates or one of those.
So Apple
types.
is basically the Robin Williams of the business world. Really good at what they do, but people forget, they're like the most notorious thieves.
Not an analogy I would have made, but
I made it.
if you
It's
say
okay.
so.
About five people know what I'm talking about.
Was he a big joke stealer?
Oh, yeah. He's
Robin
like one
Williams?
of the all-time legendary joke
Why are we
thieves.
speaking ill of the dead?
Because he,
Merry
believe it or
Christmas.
not, was stealing other people's
Christmas is
intellectual
okay.
property.
So this is not the first not the first idea theft, or in this case outright theft. They go on site to this company, and then like the next day they hire everybody.
That doesn't sound like something Apple would do by any means, but we'll hear more. Allegedly.
Pardon me.
We'll hear more on this decision in the next couple weeks, it appears here. A prolonged ban would hit one of Apple's biggest money makers at a somewhat difficult time for them. Their revenue has dropped over 4 straight quarters, Apple, that is, so we'll keep an eye on that, but I'm not going to shed too many tears for Apple around the holiday season. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we'll be doing a little bit of stack roulette. That's right after this break.
If you missed any of today's show, catch up whenever you want on our YouTube page. Find daily show segments and full shows. Just go to youtube.com and search for The Financial Exchange. This is your home for breaking business and financial news. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The U.S. Virgin Islands is St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way. So whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all three islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. Veterans Development Corporation is a proud partner of the DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old, joining a long line of family members who also served our country. After my service, I connected with the VA healthcare systems where I attended meetings with disabled veterans and learned for the first time about the DAV. I was so impressed with the work they do to help millions of veterans, including providing necessary services like transportation, education, and financial opportunities. Today, I stand a proud partner of the DAV and the 2023 DAV 5K. My company, Veterans Development Corporation, is a general contracting firm working with many disabled veterans, and I hope that by sharing my story, many other disabled veterans will be able to reach their goals once they conclude their service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts and the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. If you'd like to help our great American heroes by making a donation, visit dav5k.boston. Early estate planning is crucial if you want to avoid massive tax consequences and protect your assets. Cushing & Dolan are experts in estate planning and taxation, and their new free guide can help you do just that. It's called A Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. In it, you'll learn how to keep your assets away from the nursing home while reducing and potentially eliminating your estate taxes. You've worked hard to provide for your family, so if you haven't done your planning yet, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get this free guide called The Tale of Two Objectives, Reducing Estate Taxes and Increasing Asset Protection. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request your copy online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Building a solid financial strategy is a core element to enjoying your retirement years. That's why you need advice that you can count on. At the Armstrong Advisory Group, we understand the challenges of positioning your assets to help you maintain your wealth over time. Our goal is to offer advice that is both suitable and in your best interest. When you hire one of us, you hire all of us so you can be comfortable knowing that every advisor in our firm is dedicated to helping you create a realistic plan for your later years. Visit us today at armstrongadvisory.com and sign up for a free, no-obligation planning session. Click the Get Started button at the top right corner of the homepage, and you can select the day and time that works best for you. Go to armstrongadvisory.com and let us help you secure your financial future. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Text us at 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we are covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts, and we want to thank all of you who came out for this year's DAV 5K. The event was an incredible success and a terrific tribute to our great American heroes. If you weren't able to attend but would still like to make a donation, visit dav5k.boston for all of the information. That's dav5k.boston. The DAV 5K Boston was presented by Veterans Development Corporation.
We're going to do a little bit of stack roulette. Mark, why don't you kick us off? Because I heard you were giddy over break.
Yeah, it's finally happening. Headline from Bloomberg. New York Times sues Microsoft and OpenAI for copyright infringement. These AI technologies, you ask it a question, it gives you an answer. You tell it to write your term paper. You tell it to write your client newsletter. It gives you some content. It's not making this stuff up, the engine is, and it's going out to the web, finding something maybe produced by your competitors and stealing it. OpenAI is not free, and it doesn't actually generate any intellectual property in some unique way. It's stealing stuff. And the Times is suing Microsoft and OpenAI because OpenAI is using its content. When somebody tells it to write something, maybe for business purposes, for commercial purposes, again, it sources that from some public source, in this case, the New York Times. So I'm surprised it took this long. And I would expect, for what it is worth, not my area, but because the only place that you can train these so-called large learning models is in the public domain, anything that's out there is fair game.
Right.
So you think you're coming up with something creative when you tell AI to paint a picture of dogs playing poker and you're going to use it on your website or whatever. We've seen people do frivolous things like that. They're kind of funny, but don't use it because it's stealing it.
No, that's a good point. One of the things that I'd heard about AI when talking about its uses, they had used the example of it being able to write a CSI plot, because there's just so many examples out there of episodes where you can just formulaically kind of spell out what is to happen during an episode. But in order to get that information to build out the episode that it could just write, at the drop of a hat, it has to source it from somewhere, Mark, to your point. And that's where you get into all of these legal issues as to who's going to get paid for sourcing that information, the citing. There's just a whole lot of headaches and lawsuits to come with this technology.
Computers will never, and I'm pretty comfortable with saying this, even though it's not my area and I shouldn't be commenting on it, they will never have imagination. They'll never be able to put together wildly disparate things to come up with something truly creative. They might be able to do it randomly, and that could mimic imagination, but not in a way that's probably useful. And this lawsuit's illustrative of, again, the danger of relying on this stuff if you're a marketing person. All those people that they say are going to get replaced by this, they're using this stuff, probably throwing caution to the wind, thinking, well, this was generated for me by a query that I submitted, and I can use it. It's mine now. It might not be.
It's very similar to Napster and LimeWire, where they knew what they were doing was wrong there, but it was a lot of free, accessible music out there, and eventually there was crackdown. But what happens is that technology evolves quicker than the legislative powers in place, and it takes some time to have the market correct to make sure that...
This is the beauty of the tort system. I mean, we're supposed to be... We're heavily reliant. Ambulance chasers take a lot of heat, as evidenced by the epithet ambulance chasers. But a good, healthy tort system enforcing rights is absolutely necessary for a vibrant and growing economy. And this is a good example of it. I wondered when this was going to happen, and there will be an avalanche of anybody who's ever written anything. Our website, for example, if somebody else wants to create similar content, they might be stealing it from ours, and vice versa. You just have to be careful.
There's a piece here in CNBC. 2024 could be the year of the streaming bundle. Streaming companies at large had a really disappointing 2023. It's just been extremely challenging for them to make money, a concept that should be at the top of any company's list in terms of priorities. But for years, companies were able to develop their streaming platform without much scrutiny. Netflix, though, contrary to other streamers out there, continue to assert its dominance. And now looking into 2024, we may be looking at a period of time where, I swear, Ben and Mark, we're just going to circle back to a bundling of streamers, similar to what cable was in terms of a bundling of channels. It's just going to take on a different form. I just feel that that's what we're going to see over the next couple of years. It's not a very bold prediction, but you have all these companies that are burning a ton of money with their segmented product, whether it be Peacock, Paramount Plus, name any of the streamers out there. They're just going to team up together and package themselves like we've seen with cable subscribers here before. ESPN Plus, another example.
Are you guys ready for it?
Yeah.
I mean, you want bundles. You guys are avid streamers. Especially you and Tucker Silva are.
Yeah, I mean,
streaming
I don't have
enthusiasts
traditional cable anymore. I went to
YouTube
TV.
You've cut the cord. Okay.
Cut the cord completely. And so, yeah, it's mostly streaming. But then when I get really frustrated when I see Netflix spending $100 million on
I'm watching the aorta pop out of your
of Friends. It's on all the time. On if you have cable or regular TV, it's always on.
Mm-hmm.
And they spent $100 million, which is a bad deal, on Friends, a show that's been off the air since 2003.
And also an overrated show. That's just a personal opinion of mine.
We share that opinion.
Okay. But that doesn't impact.
Okay,
so you're thinking
you're ready.
That puts to the bottom line of what you're going to pay from a subscriber standpoint on a monthly basis. Because they have been increasing their prices for subscription gradually because they've got us all hooked in.
Honestly, most of these streaming platforms have way too much content on them.
That's true.
There's way too much. And that's what's driving up the cost for us, the consumer. Is because they spent, we may laugh at that $100 million, but it's the $150,000 they spent on this documentary that no one's going to watch. It's another $500,000 on another, silly TV show that they purchased from some god-awful network for no reason. And nobody watches these things.
Netflix is a vast wasteland. That's not my phrase.
How many streaming services do each of you guys subscribe to?
Prime. Does that count?
Yes.
Yes. I'm a Prime member as well. Netflix, Mark?
No.
Obviously, yes.
I got Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Peacock.
You got them all.
I think that's it right now. But if you're smart, I'll tell you, if you're smart about this and you look around for deals and change your email address every now and again, like I spent, I think, $30 on Hulu for the year.
Okay.
For the entire year.
Right.
Same thing with Peacock. I think I only spent $18 because you just look for the deals and you sign up and it's a new user sign-up bonus or whatever. If you keep doing that and be smart about it, you'll keep your costs down.
But do you actually watch these channels, these services?
Yeah.
Disney Plus is pretty critical for
if
kids out there, but I actually don't have it yet because we're heavily on YouTube for stuff that the kids watch. But
Bluey.
Disney Plus... even worse shows than that, Miss Rachel and Blippi, which we won't get into. We've talked about before.
We'll have the conversation off air.
Yeah, please, let's not.
Just awful products out there. But
BLIPPI.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens here. There certainly will be a lot of bundling, you would imagine. A quick breaking news update. We had talked about this just earlier in the show today. Apple Watch import temporarily stopped by the U.S. Appeals Court. That's just breaking news here. That's been announced that previously we were mentioning that they were not allowed to sell their iPhones or import them, but they have temporarily been paused on Wednesday. So a big victory there for Apple. It seems like they always get their way. They've certainly got a lot of money to push around. Taking a look at markets here, we've got the Dow Jones up about 75 points at the moment. S&P 500 relatively flat, just up about 2 points, and the Russell 2000 is up about 0.11%. Taking a look at some other economic indicators out there, the U.S. 10-year Treasury sits at 3.82%. That's down about 7 basis points today, and we've got oil sitting at about $74 a barrel on West Texas Intermediate. That's down about 1.64%. Taking a look at some of the sectors or stocks making moves today, we've got Dish Networks up about 5.3%, and then we've got Macy's off about 2% or so, while Albermay is down about 2% as well. That's all the time that we have for this episode of the Financial Exchange, but we'll be right back with you here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Enjoy the rest of the day, and thanks so much for being with us.
Building a solid financial strategy is a core element to enjoying your retirement years. That's why you need advice that you can count on. At the Armstrong Advisory Group, we understand the challenges of positioning your assets to help you maintain your wealth over time. Our goal is to offer advice that is both suitable and in your best interest. When you hire one of us, you hire all of us so you can be comfortable knowing that every advisor in our firm is dedicated to helping you create a realistic plan for your later years. Visit us today at armstrongadvisory.com and sign up for a free, no-obligation planning session. Click the Get Started button at the top right corner of the homepage, and you can select the day and time that works best for you. Go to armstrongadvisory.com and let us help you secure your financial future. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The U.S. Virgin Islands is St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Visit one or all three and enjoy the vacation of a lifetime. Each island is special in its own unique way. So whether you want the heritage of St. Croix, the pristine beaches of St. Thomas, or the calm and relaxation of St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the top vacation spots to visit in the Caribbean. You can expect perfect temperatures, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no